Excuse me! Taxi!
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Well, you guys joining us now to talk about a whole bunch of this and more. We have Professor Alan Dershowitz. Professor Dershowitz, we love you. First of all, your thoughts about, you heard Tom Homan today said, we have to push to ban sanctuary cities. We need help through Congress.
No, I completely agree. First of all, I am now a Fetterman Democrat. As long as the Democratic Party follows Fetterman, I could consider returning to the party. But I would never become the kind of Democrat that now, a Schumer Democrat or an AOC Democrat. So, the Democrat Party is splitting. But, if I were a Republican, obviously I couldn't become a Tucker Carlson Republican. So, we have problems in both parties. Look, I think that the Homans is doing the right thing. Sanctuary cities, I have said this on your show, are unconstitutional. Sanctuary cities basically say we are like the segregationists in 1954. We're not going to cooperate with integration. We're not going to cooperate with desegregation. We're not going to cooperate with the federal government trying to do the right thing. And I don't see any big difference between the segregationists and the sanctuary city people. They're both defying the Constitution. They're violating the Supremacy Clause. And they're basically trying to secede from the Union and saying, all right, you have the president, you have the United States, but we're separate. We're not bound by American law. And that's just wrong and unconstitutional. And I'm glad it's being pushed, and I'm on their side.
So how long could that process take, just for people listening out there? If Congress were to take it up, how long? What does that process entail, Professor Dershowitz?
Well, all it requires is a Senate and the House before the midterm election passing a very clear and constitutional statute. I'd be happy to help them draft it. Let the president sign it. Let it go into effect before the midterm elections, because we don't know who's going to win the midterm elections. Nobody knows that for sure. So Congress can move quickly and can get it done, and can get it done without violating the 10th Amendment or the power of states. States do have residual power under the 10th Amendment if Congress doesn't act. But if Congress does act, they can preempt the area. And I think immigration is an area that Congress should have the exclusive authority over, not the states.
Judge Weinberg.
Alan, you're absolutely right. I thought it was resolved a long time ago in the Civil War that states do not have nullification powers over federal law.
Yeah, and you remember that a lot of great Americans wrote in the South, wrote essays saying, including Thomas Jefferson on occasion, but certainly Calhoun and others, talking about state power. But as you say, that was resolved by the 13th, 14th, 15th Amendment and by, obviously, the victory of the North against the South. And so you don't want to relitigate the Civil War.
Absolutely. By the way, I want to also get with you, Professor Dershowitz. Did you see this? A grand jury has declined criminal charges against the 6 Democrats. They're kind of called the seditious 6. These are the ones who did that video that said, military, you can reject illegal orders. I mean, it's shocking that they went out there, but obviously this will, I'm sure, be revisited. But what's your reaction to that?
Well, I think legally the grand jury is correct. I don't think you can indict somebody for being stupid and telling members of the armed forces.
By the way, Professor, if that were the case, there'd be a lot of people indicted.
I know. I'd have a lot of business, I can tell you that.
You would. Yes.
But, no, look, there's no doubt in my mind that, you have to deal with this issue in a straightforward, direct manner. And, we haven't been doing that.
Judge Weinberg.
And Alan, I think you're absolutely right. I think it's a ridiculous thing for the Trump administration to try to go forward with getting an indictment. I thought that was silliness, and it smacked of lawfare, which they shouldn't do. But
yeah, we're seeing something interesting. All of my adult life, I've said the grand jury is meaningless. They're just a rubber stamp. The grand jury will indict a ham sandwich. But now the grand jury has on at least several occasions said, no, enough is enough. And it really shows the common sense of the people who drafted the Bill of Rights, because generally, the grand jury should go along. But when the administration goes too far, it is a check and balance. And it's just 23 ordinary people And if they refuse to go along with an indictment, I don't know if you know this, but if you can't get an indictment from one grand jury, you can go back and get another one.
Sure.
Right.
Absolutely. And I want to ask one other thing related to this.
Sure.
A U.S. District Court judge in the District of Columbia issued an injunction against the Department of Defense in sanctioning Kelly, the United States Senator, who was one of the 6 on that videotape, and said that this was overzealous. They had no right to do this. They're enjoined pending a final hearing. The judge said something I thought was problematic. He said, "Well, this is all part of the speech and debate clause issue, and I have to resolve that." But this was a videotape. How did this become? And it was also a legislative oversight. How did this all of a sudden, and freedom of speech? How did this all of a sudden become the issues?
It isn't. It isn't the issue. And congressmen often abuse their authority under the speech and debate clause to misuse it. They speak outside of Congress. They speak politically. They speak in a partisan way. And I think we're going to see this tested. We may see it tested in the Epstein case. If congressmen stand up in front of Congress and read the list of names of people who have been accused while the accusers have had their names redacted, then you have a direct clash between the speech and debate clause and the Sixth Amendment, which gives anybody who's accused the right to confront witnesses. And if you can't confront them, your rights have been violated as well. So, I think the Epstein McCarthyism is going so far. It really reminds me of the Salem witch trials today. Anonymous accusations. You believe everything that anybody says. According to these reports, I'm a Mossad agent, because a guy named Charles Johnson, who went to prison and who is a Holocaust denier and who was regarded by the FBI as an unworthy and non-credible source, because he said, I'm a Mossad agent, suddenly all the newspapers are printing Alan Dershowitz as a Mossad agent. Look, if I were an Israeli and I was 25, I'd be thrilled to be a Mossad agent.
Yeah, I was going to say, but can I say for the record, Professor, we would love for you to have our back. I mean, you could still do it.
But at 87, I think they could do better than retaining me as a Mossad agent. So, but so many false accusations are out there. There was another woman who said she gave me a massage on Epstein's plane. I've never had a massage on Epstein's plane. I've never had an erotic massage in my life. I've never touched anybody other than my wife since the day I met Jeffrey Epstein, but it's an anonymous source. So I'm now filing a lawsuit, an Alan Dershowitz versus Jane Doe. We don't know her name, but we're going to find out her name. We're going to subpoena the Justice Department to find out the name of the person who's falsely accusing me, because they have committed a crime. If you go to the FBI and you say, I saw Alan Dershowitz get a massage on a plane, that's a violation of 101 of the criminal code. It's lying to an FBI agent. I can prove conclusively that I was never on an Epstein plane with any young person or any person who claims to be a victim. So, look, I'm now a victim of a crime, and I'm not going to rest. I'm going to make sure that my rights are satisfied.
Well, Professor Dershowitz, bravo to you, because nobody should be falsely accused. So bravo to you. Professor, we love you, and we love your fight, and you could be a Mossad agent anytime, I'm telling you.
You're our hero.
Yeah, you're our hero.
I won't tell you if I become a Mossad agent.
Okay.
Maybe I'll tell you, but I won't tell it. I won't say it on the air. I'll tell it to you confidentially.
Isn't that the rules of the Fight Club? You don't talk about the Fight Club. Right, exactly. Professor Dershowitz, thank you.
Thank you, Professor.
Thank you very much.